The reason for making this video is to debunking some misunderstandings of the Akasha and the cosmic consciousness that runs its course through the Akasha, but also introducing you to what the Akasha actually is, which can be pretty hard to say in a short video, but I will at least try it. So in this experience of being like a human as we have right now, we have a very short amount of memory about what have happened. It runs its course through from the birth to the death of the physical body. But everything that happens both within that, but also before that and after that, is what we call the Akasha. It stores everything that have happened and will happen in this universal manifestation, which we are part of. The entire universe is like an incarnation also. So if you can actually understand that this universe as an incarnation has its own time, that time is what we know as what we call the Akasha, at least from one dimension of it. And I wanna stick to this dimension right now for a specific reason we will come into. So when we live in this physical body, we are pretty limited to the extent of what the mind knows, and the mind only knows from its birth to its death. That's all it knows, nothing else. Sometimes we can have these small memories of something that happened in the past, and that's when the soul, which have had the experience before, if you believe in reincarnation, and for this video we will talk about reincarnation, we will at least have that concept with us, that the soul have had experiences before this incarnation, this physical body you are in now. So when the soul kind of goes down and have like a new incarnation, it can sometimes memorize something that happened in a past incarnation, but that's not something the mind fully understands, because the mind doesn't know that. The mind is so limited to time and space, and inside this trap, we can call it this matrix, this maze, whatever you want to call it, the Maya illusion, where time and space is real, then one of the best ways to work with that is to understand everything that have happened. And I think I want to start by saying that having an access to the Akasha doesn't mean that you're special. Not at all, because honestly, we all have the access to that. I choose to see the Akasha as a being. It's like its own being that runs with its wisdom through us, and it like kind of invite us in all the time to know the truth. And part of my practice is to devote myself to that consciousness, to everything that have happened, because everything that have happened will manifest what will happen for the future. And as long as I'm in a body where I have an idea of how this world should be, I want to respect what have happened to understand how I can impact the future the best way from my heart. And this is how I use the Akasha. But today you see all these kind of Akasha readings, and you also, maybe you have experienced yourself through yourself, or you have seen someone else that speaks the truth out of their own experience with either the Akasha or like an opening to a higher dimension. And I'm not here to like trash talk that, because that's not my idea. But my idea is to invite you to see a bigger perception of the trap that you can find in this new age spirituality we live in today. And I think I want to choose to call it the tunnel vision. It's like when you have a feeling, that feeling will always be the gate, the portal to understand the higher worlds. It's like your connection to cosmos goes through your feelings. But if you stay in the dimension of that feeling, then you will be trapped. See, every feeling has its own universe. Every feeling has its own universe. and you have to dive into that universe to come to the other side. But often the problem in the trap is that we hold and we limit ourselves to only that universe, because we dive into it, we dive into the feeling, and we come into that universe, and suddenly we feel like, oh wow, I see it now. I understand everything. I understand how everything works in this perception, at least. And it's like, that's why I choose to call it a tunnel vision, because if you just stay with that, you don't see the bigger aspects, and that can actually lead you to a trap. And this is often what happens in both Akasha readings, but also in other kind of practices. If you choose to work with meditation or psychedelics or something, you suddenly have a realization through that feeling, and then you feel like you have realized it, and then you have concluded that you have found the truth in it, and then you go out and speak that truth. But the big work is actually, and what I try to both teach my students, but also still follow myself, and now choose to share with you, is that when you dive into that feeling and you enter that universe that comes with that feeling, remember that's a teaching. It's a teaching from Cosmos. The Cosmos sends you a feeling for you to be invited into it. But if you stay with the conclusion of that realization you had, you will not be able to enter the next dimension. The conclusion will be your trap. The conclusion will be that which limits you to see a higher perspective and actually meet an even higher self. So what I'm trying to say right now is, don't conclude anything on your path. I know that is very hard, because when with the mind and with this Western world we live in, we have to conclude sometimes. But inwardly, don't conclude anything you find there, but keep questioning and keep opening up, because you will open up to higher dimensions of that which has been given to you to seek from Cosmos. The feeling comes down to you to open up, and when you open up, don't conclude from there, because then you will be trapped in it. And this is also often what happens in healings. Much of my time, actually, I've worked very long, at least, to help people heal their past healings from someone else, where they have kind of been trapped into this universe. Often they don't know it, but there's still something in them that feels trapped, something that holds them down. In the moment, it can feel very, very great, because this is actually a way to also to create a new identification. You see, when you work with past lives, often we work with it from a point of view where we give a new identification from what happened in the past identification. A past incarnation. You were this, you were that. Suddenly the mind clings to that. So all the purification you have done to yourself to stop identifying with all the verses that the society and this world, that can be very cruel and very hard for a soul to be in, especially when the soul has had a lot of experience. Then a past life reading telling you something about your past life, the mind starts to cling to that, and suddenly and very slowly that seed that has been given to you will start to burden you down, to weigh you down. And then suddenly a healing starts to become the opposite of a healing. And this is why my intention with this video is to show you that when you dive into a feeling, understand that feeling is an entire universe. It's an entire universe. But don't hold on to that realization you have in that universe. Use that to dive even deeper. And keep diving deeper. Because only here you will start to unveil even deeper layers that goes from the soul to the human being, from the soul to the mind. And the more you do this, the more you will help yourself, and you will also be more in service to this entire creation that we live in right now, in this world which is limited to time and space, on the physical plane, the same way as this body is limited to time and space. So being in service actually also means this, to stay humble enough to not conclude anything, but keep staying open, to dive deeper, and not hold on to that realization which you had. Don't conclude it. I hope this helped you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. May you walk in beauty.